what you outlined concerning the running game distribution intrigues me, because you've got two known commodities. You've got one highly talented one coming in who's impressed by all accounts. And there's so many advantages to approaching it the way that it appears as though they're going to approach it. Number one, everybody stays fresh. So you keep hitting the defense with fresh players, much like a defensive line rotation. Number two, they have, for as much as they might be similar in some ways, there are obvious differences, and those differences can be beneficial to the play calling, but it can also be beneficial to attacking the defense in regards to, if you're a defender, it's tough to tackle. It is a difficult thing considering the size, the speed, the elusiveness of these players. Well, you get used to one running back's approach in the open field, which might be, I'm going to lower a shoulder and knock you down. And then all of a sudden, you may know from looking at game tape and your coach is prepping you that week that, okay, when number such and such comes into the game, he's going to be more elusive. He's going to look to juke you. But to process that in your head and remember that and have your body respond to it's a different thing. So you got three backs coming at you, and they all provide different speeds, different shifting of speeds, different moves in the open field, different levels of power and how aggressive they're going to be. And to kind of process all that in the open field is certainly difficult to do. And then on top of that, just from the standpoint of keeping all three running backs engaged, keeping them motivated, keeping them interested in what's going on, why play one or two and then have the second or third guys be kind of out to lunch, and understandably so, because they don't get the carries and they don't get the looks. And then you have an injury and you got to play two instead of all three, and maybe one of them didn't see the field much against big opponents in meaningful situations. So it seems like a no-lose situation in approaching it that way, keeping everybody involved, everybody engaged. And again, you can tailor make the play calling to their strengths and weaknesses, and you obviously keep the defense guessing.
Yeah, absolutely, Mark. And I think the good thing about this running back core that Oklahoma has right now is you got three guys right now, and then you'll have another one come fall camp and Gavin Salchuk. But right now, the three guys are very complementary of each other, and they have their own strengths that maybe some of the others don't necessarily have. When you look at Eric Gray, really good in the open field, very elusive, good out of the backfield, maybe better than the other two out of the backfield as well. So I think you'll see him getting the ball in his hands in different ways, right? I think you'll see him catch the ball out of the backfield much more than he did in the past. You'll see him maybe kind of in that fly sweep running game that Jeff Lebby likes to run quite a bit, and so I think Jeff Lebby will do a lot of things around getting the ball in his hands in different ways than you saw in the past. Whereas Riley didn't get the ball in his hands out of the backfield a whole lot, and his strong suit isn't necessarily running 15 to 20 times between the tackles, right? So I think that improvement will kind of be kind of a benefactor of what the offense that Oklahoma's running this year. But I think also you look at a guy like Marcus Major, and I think he is probably the biggest pleasant surprise for the things that I've heard. I've kind of just heard a lot of consistent comments about him just being a completely different person. Obviously, he wasn't as, if you're in a point, if you're at a school like Oklahoma and you're not academically eligible, you have to be doing a lot of things wrong just because of the help and all the things that you have at your disposal. So I think he's even been on the Oklahoma does a little thing where they kind of celebrate the academic achievement folks. And Marcus Major was one of those early on in spring. So I think he has a new attitude, a new outlook. And I think he is a guy Mark, that has really, really excelled between the tackle. Very punishing runner. So I think he may even get to the point where he has a lot more uh, looks kind of between the tackles perspective. So then when you look at Jovantae Barnes, he's a little bit of a mixture of both, right? Good. He's got a powerful body. He's probably much more ready from a body perspective than any of the other running backs that Oklahoma has had, early on, right? So I think he's got that, and he's only going to get bigger, obviously through the summer and through the years. And I think he catches the ball good out of the backfield, good vision, good runner between the tackles and then outside as well. But I think the one thing that I've heard, which is this is very common, obviously with younger running backs, is he's struggling a little bit with blitz protection, right, and blocking out of the backfield, and so that's something that he's going to have to get corrected. But I think he's certainly a guy that's going to get some playing time this year without a doubt, and I think could be determined how much he gets a look at, and so I think when you accompany that with um, with Gavin Sawchuk coming in the fall, and then I think there's a question about the JUCO running back, Tyree Walker, I believe is his name is. He's not as polished as the others, but he's probably stronger than all the others, and so you could see him get some playing time in kind of short yardage situations, things like that. So it'll be interesting to see how Levy kind of, and obviously we won't know a whole lot in the spring, but how they split some of these guys out in formations. Do you see two running backs, one split out as a wide receiver and one in a traditional running back slot? So I think they are very complementary of each other, and in such a way that I think it'll be maybe a better group, a better productivity as a group, whereas they don't have anyone probably quite as good is quite as good as Kennedy Brooks was the last few years for Oklahoma, but I think as a group they might be equal to or even more production wise.